Hi, this is Sweeney, the comic creator of Carmilla, the First Vampire, and Dynamite's Chitara.
And this is Sweeney Boo, the comic creator behind Harley Quinn and Over My Dead Body.
And you are listening to the Oblivion Bar podcast.
Welcome to the Oblivion Bar podcast with your host, Chris Hacker and Aaron Knowles.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 167 of the Oblivion Bar podcast. I'm your wielder of the Sword of Omens and the rightful protector of Thundra, Chris Hacker. And joining me this week is the sexiest former psychologist turned anti-hero jester, my co-host and BFF, Aaron Knowles.
Mr. J says hello.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Oblivion Bar podcast. We are here for day 2 of the Interview-A-Thon, or
Yes Fest.
That's right, where we are joined by two of the, honestly, the best people in comics. Sweeney Boo and Sue Lee join us today on the Oblivion Bar podcast. Aaron, you laughed there, but am I wrong?
I am only laughing because they are two of the most fun people to just talk to and shoot the shit with.
Yeah, and you get that in this conversation. What you guys are about to listen to here in just a moment with Sweeney and Sue is probably one of our most relaxed conversations here on the Oblivion Bar. And it's how I wish the show was most of the time, right? Like, it's just sort of a fun where we get off track and we sort of find our way back to the point eventually.
We got so lost.
And you know me, I'm very anal retentive and I want us to always stay on track, but I sort of just let us go crazy with this episode. And I think it turned out for the better.
Isn't it bad that I'm the one that was like, we need to get on track like 3 times?
Yeah, exactly. You were the one that actually brought us back multiple times throughout this conversation. And I think the listener is going to enjoy this quite a bit because
hashtag Adderall.
Exactly. Got to get that. Got to get those neurons firing off in your brain cells. Yeah, it's so great to have both Sweeney and Sue on the show. As we talk about in this conversation, they are best friends in real life, but also they are, and again, as we say in the conversation, two of the bigger rising stars in the, in the sort of the comic sphere. Sweeney's been on Harley Quinn for quite a while, and Sue has been working in the comic sphere for a while, but it feels like recently they both have been just sort of doing this, and you guys can't see me because this is an audio medium, but they're rising, right? So, and it's just great that they're, not only again, best friends, but they're both sort of going on the same trajectory upward.
I love the dynamic between those two. Mm-hmm. It is such, and you can hear it during the conversation. Like it's like talking to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Two shorter, much more creative people, much more talented people than we are. We'll get in that conversation with Sweeney and Sue talking about Harley Quinn and Cheetar and Over My Dead Body and Carmilla, the First Vampire. But before we get there, Aaron, again, Interview-A-Thon. This is the second day or Guest Fest of our Interview-A-Thon, our yearly our yearly sort of celebratory week of interviews where we bring on creators every single day of New York Comic Con. If you're listening to this right now, go back one day. We just spoke with the creator, the writer and artist of Zawa and the Belly of the Beast, Michael Dialinos, one of our favorite people in the comic realm.
Such a sweet person.
We love him so much. He put us
such
on the
a sweet person.
Put us on the back of that Zawa book too. Thanks for the pull quote there, Michael. We appreciate it. And it was a great conversation. Hopefully everybody go and check that out. Again, today, Sweeney and Sue, but tomorrow we'll be talking to Jeff Lemire. So if you're a lot of great creators in the pipeline waiting for this Interview-A-Thon or Guest Fest. Aaron, tell the people how they can support the show.
Well, if you want to support the Oblivion Bar podcast, consider checking out our Patreon. For your support, you can gain access to a bonus episode each week called The Grid. A behind-the-scenes look at how we prepare each episode with episode transcripts, Patreon polls, and a whole bunch of other exclusive goodies. You can give it a shot with a 7-day free trial at patreon.com/Oblivion Bar Pod, or check out the link in our show notes, which you get access to for free.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Check those out. It means a lot to us. It's a good way to support the show. All the money we get from that goes right back in the show. And yeah, 110%. That'll do it. 110%. We're no more preamble. This is a great conversation with Sweeney and Sue. Let's go ahead and get into it now.
And now this week's special guest.
Joining us today are two of the most exciting double threat comic creators working today. One is the comic creator behind titles like Dynamite's Cruella de Vil miniseries with artist Mariana Puglia, the ongoing Harley Quinn series with writer Teenie Howard, Eat and Love Yourself, and the witchy OGN Over My Dead Body. The other is the comic creator of titles like, speaking of Disney's villains, Dynamite's Maleficent, Thundercats Chitara with artist Domenico Carbone, and the queer vampire murder mystery Carmilla the First Vampire with writer Amy Chu. It is our pleasure to welcome the founding members of what we have called the Boo Sue Crew, Sweeney Boo and Sue Lee, onto the Oblivion Bar podcast.
Woo, yeah.
Hi.
Thank you.
The Boo Sue Crew. Welcome.
Thanks for having us on.
Did we create that, or have you guys had that before? Have you heard that at all?
No, but I feel like the gang that we hang out with, Tyler and everyone, like I feel like they came up with something once, but I forgot what it was.
I don't remember.
Can we coin the Boo Sue Crew then?
Yeah.
I'm already making shirts.
We're
for
making
New York
t-shirts.
Comic-Con.
Yeah, they're already on order.
No,
Right. I want a cut of that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I bought a cricket. I'm making them right now.
Well, thank you both so much for being here on the Oblivion Bar podcast. Thank you for joining us for our Interview-A-Thon Day 2. And Sweeney, I'm going to start with you here. So you recently announced on your Substack that your run on Harley Quinn will be officially ending with issue 43, or it has ended officially as of this recording on September 25th, which sort of seems hard to believe because you two have been on Harley Quinn, but it's been over 2 years, but it seems far longer than that somehow. So my first question for you is, take us back to when you first were approached by DC for this opportunity, and what were sort of your immediate thoughts?
The first is that I remember when I got the emails, like, I don't have time, but I have to do it. Because it's like, you can't say no to Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
And then immediately it's like, can I swear?
Yeah, please.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Please swear.
Okay. I don't know how to talk without swearing. But immediately it was like, holy shit, how am I going to do that? Cause, and it still feels like I don't know. I guess I learned this week that a fever dream is not actually like a negative thing. I thought it was like kind of like a trippy, I don't know. But I feel like this whole bit of like working on Harley, it's like, I remember it, but I don't, because it's like, it was just like, not an out of body experience for 2 years, but kind of. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was mind blowing. It's been mind blowing the whole way. And, we knew we were going to end the beginning of this year. And it's not bittersweet. Like, not everyone gets to say that they work on Harley. So I'm just really excited.
Yeah, I remember when it was initially announced. I was so happy for you, just knowing you from the comic sketch art and doing the cons and being friends. Obviously, I was like, holy crap, Sweeney's on Harley Quinn. This is incredible. And Aaron and I were talking a little bit before the actual recording, and I'll sort of let him talk about this if he wants to. But you definitely left your mark, definitely from a visual standpoint, for the character. I think it's your look of Harley Quinn will go down in the annals of like one of the more iconic looks. So.
Don't know about that, but I appreciate it. It's very kind.
It's not up to you. It's up to us. And we say,
as fans of Harley Quinn, Chris and I were having a good conversation about that. We're going to talk about it a little bit more in the conversation, but there's just certain looks, there's certain feels about certain characters that set like milestones in their development over the years. And honestly, like, your representations of Harley Quinn now have been fun, mysterious, welcoming, but they've just set like a whole new bar for Harley as a character that I think a lot of people are going to remember for a very long time. She's not just this, Batman the Animated Series Harley Quinn anymore, which is what she's been known for so long, but she has like such a look now. And also she's way different than the Margot Robbie Harley Quinn. She is her own new like version, and we love it.
No, totally. And this, it's really sweet, but I feel like everyone before us like paved the way for our book. When we were at DragonCon, Tini and I got to do a panel with like Jimmy and Amanda, and I feel like Harley, even Margot Robbie Harley, like Harley wouldn't be what it is without them. So it's been so many creators just like moving the character forward, and I'm really excited to see what's gonna happen with the next team. Honestly, I think it's very exciting.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And there's compelling argument to be made that no character has really evolved quite like Harley Quinn has in these last couple of years. And she is in some ways barely the same character that she was when Paul Dini and Bruce Timm created her for the animated series. When building your version, Sweeney, of Harley, were there any character defining like North Stars that you and Teeny looked towards during your run together?
I mean, I feel like both of us were really, we really wanted her to be, you know, raw in terms of her mental health and her struggles, and the fact that she deals with it in some kind of like humorous way to not be too vulnerable. So playing with like a very colorful setting around her, and even her outfit and everything juxtaposed with everything that she was struggling with, where I think I don't want to, you know, put words in Teeny's mouth, but I hope this is exactly what she also wanted to achieve. And I think we did pretty good.
We have a term here on the Oblivion Bar Pod when things go well like that. We say nailed it.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Well, so sort of transitioning over to you, and again, Aaron and I were just talking about this before the recording here. What I really enjoy about what both you and Sweeney have done with your careers thus far is that not only are you guys playing in that IP sandbox with, you know, the Thundercats and the Disney villains and the DC universe, but you're also taking big swings with your career own works as well. You know, Sweeney, like we mentioned there in the intro, you released Over My Dead Body back in 2022. And, you know, so you released 2 volumes of Carmilla, the First Vampire, which is your retelling of the classic vampire tale with Amy Chu. The second volume actually just came out earlier this year. So I want to sort of set all this up with a synopsis of Carmilla, if I can. At the height of the Lunar New Year, an idealistic social worker turned detective when she discovers young, homeless LGBTQ women are being murdered, and no one, especially the police, seems to care. A series of clues points to her, to Carmilla's, a mysterious nightclub in the heart of her neighborhood, Chinatown. There she falls for the next likely target, landing her at the center of a real-life horror story and face-to-face with illusions about herself, her life, and her hidden past. Now, this book centers around many things: identity, culture, gender, sexuality. Were any of those themes more important to you, Sue, when you guys were creating and crafting the story?
I think for me, it was all of it, right? Like, it's very rare that I or many people get to work on a story that relates to their own culture. You know, like most of the times we're like remaking stories that fit like a mainstream like audience and everything. And I think this was like a good time to actually be like, okay, let's focus on Asian culture, you know? And so like New York Chinatown was very important for me to try to nail visually, because like I grew up, you know, visiting Chinatown and like being around Asian neighborhoods and stuff like that. And I wanted to make sure that like that was the forefront, that this is like a story with Asian characters. It's about like Asian culture, but you know, we're not monoliths. We're like, you know, we're just like everyone else, right? It's just telling a story like any other story, just with Asian people, you know? So I wanted to make sure that I got as vibrant, you know, close to as vibrant, like of what Chinatown looks like to me and what it represents to me. Also just part of normal life for me, right? So I just wanted to make sure that I could translate that.
You mentioned, I think, in one of your interviews that there are 2 Chinatowns in New York. Aaron, did you know that? Being in New York now, I know you probably know this, but I had no idea that there were 2 Chinatowns in New York.
I actually didn't.
Where's the other one at?
I live here.
Oh, you live in the other one?
Yeah. Okay. I live in the other one.
All right.
And they're like one of the oldest. Funny, I like went to Chinatown yesterday too, and we were talking about like how old Chinatown is and what it means in like American history. But in New York, you know, the one in Manhattan is one of the oldest and like maybe 1 or 2 of the most original ones. I think San Francisco might be the number 1 original, the OG Chinatown, but New York is like one of the oldest, if not the second one. And then it's like Chinatown, Koreatown, and that's also fairly old. Mm-hmm. So it's like they're both historical. Oh,
where's that in relation? Queens. Okay, Queens. Okay, yeah. Gotcha. All right.
Okay. Yeah, I was talking to Chris about recently. My wife and I, we went to Chinatown in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And she's taken me near the one because we just moved to Brooklyn about 6 months ago. So I'm still learning about the city. I'm sure I'll learn about, both Chinatowns. But yeah, because as I was reading through Carmilla, I'm just like the way that it reads and the way that it feels and it feels like places when I visited Chinatown in San Francisco. It feels familiar. Mm-hmm. And so I enjoyed, like, that was one of the things that kind of drew me into the story was the scenery and the feeling of it was built so like quickly and so smoothly. It's just an incredible read, just even from the beginning.
Thank you. I mean, that's like the biggest compliment I can get is because like I know New York and Chinatown like the back of my hand. Like if I didn't know it and if it didn't translate well, I would be very embarrassed of myself.
Yeah. Well, the interesting, finding the gate. Like that's one of the first things that she does when she gets to San Francisco is find the gate. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's the first thing that my wife and I did. So it almost felt like our stories were paralleling. So it was just, again, it was crazy.
Sweeney and I went to one in San Francisco too. And that was like an amusement park. I was like, oh my God, this place is like really done up, like this is what OG Chinatown looks like.
It's so big. It wasn't ending. It's like street after street where I feel like in any city that you go to, it's going to be like maybe a street or two. It's, but no, the San Francisco Chinatown was incredible.
Yeah.
To go back to what you said just a moment ago, I think it's so important as, especially in the comic book, landscape and the medium, it's important, I think, for creators to go through the landscape. If you're telling a story about New York, right? And I think for a lot of stories, New York is like its own character, Right. So I think it's so important that you actually go to these places and experience them. That way you can sort of infuse that into your work. And as Aaron was saying, it's so evident in Carmilla, especially that you're from there, there's like a very deliberate effort to show the landscape again, as almost like New York is like a character within the story.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's why the colors were important too. I wanted to make sure it was like very ambiance, like heavy, but also, it reminds you of like a vintage photo kind of, like not, the colors are bright, but it's also very like, schematic to what's happening. Or thematic? Did I say the right?
Schematic, thematic. I think they're same difference.
Honestly, again, you deserve it. Nailed it because there's a scene in there where it feels like she is walking through a vintage photo of like the gates in Chinatown.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so, thank you.
Like again, like nailed it. So.
And also, I didn't know that. I didn't know that Carmilla predated like a lot of the original vampire stuff.
Oh
right?
God,
like,
she's the OG. Yeah.
I was gonna say there's Carmilla, and then like with like devil stuff, people always go to like Satan, and there's like Lilith. Anyways, there's like a ton of stuff that people don't realize that predates a lot of these bigger stories that we tend to enjoy. But moving on, as we mentioned earlier, you each headlined a solo miniseries for two of the most iconic Disney villains with Cruella de Vil and Maleficent. Sweeney, let's start with you. How did both members of the Boo-Soo crew end up on one of these books? And what notes, if any, did Dynamite, because we hear about this all the time, how, the publisher generally gives out like some strict parameters. What notes did Dynamite editorial staff have for you before you accepted taking on these two iconic characters?
The way it happened, I feel like, Sue, you had been on your book for over a year before I came on to do Cruella. Kind of happened out of nowhere, but knowing that Sue was already like part of that series, like that collection, I was like, yeah, that's like, I want to do it too. That's fun. I think they were pretty relaxed with like the stuff that they gave me, and like they asked me about Cruella. The only big note was like she cannot smoke because there's no smoking anymore.
They have that big pencil cigarette.
I know. And like, it's fine. It's cool. Like, I don't care. But when you're a kid and you see her, like, getting in through the door frame is just like cloud of green around her. It was so iconic, but it's just what it is.
Doesn't she literally puts out a cigarette on Roger, like on like their sofa or something in the movie. So I'm just like, iconic way, like, that made her an icon as far as a villain. But
smoking is bad for you though. You can't make that see.
Well, what's crazy is that no matter how bad smoke, and I've never been a smoker. I think smoking is terrible. It's disgusting.
Oh, I've smoked a lot.
Well, it's undeniably cool, right? Like smoking is kind of cool.
So cool. It does.
Oh my
Listen,
God.
children are not listening to this, right? I mean,
Yeah, the kids are not listening.
Let me tell you, when I first started smoking, I was in college. I was like very young, right? I remember having dinner with a bunch of school friends, and I went out after dinner and I lit up a cigarette. And the first thing my friend said, "So cool smoking." That's terrible. But it does look cool, unfortunately.
Very true. It's very true.
My first duty station was in Germany, and if you know, like every German, like you're born, like they're born
Every
smoking.
European smokes. Yeah.
They're born with a cigarette in their mouth. You're like, we, you know, and so, but that's the funny thing. It's like we went from like everybody like smoking to smoking being disgusting, and now everybody vapes. But have you ever watched anybody who's like vaping? They always look like they're trying to hide it. Like,
no, they're smoking again.
They're embarrassed about it.
Yeah.
It looks like a toy.
It's like you're smuggling your vape. Like just admit it. Just bring it. Accept it.
They like take a toke and then they blow it other way.
But I prefer that. I feel like that's more because you're not trying to blow it in people's faces. I've had people do it in like indoor areas. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah.
I don't need to smell your cotton candy.
Yeah, your cotton candy. What? Yeah, your green apple, whatever the fuck it is.
We are so off track.
Well, I'm gonna. Can I expose Aaron? I need to expose you really quick because the one and only time I've ever smoked a cigarette was with Aaron when we were in the Army together.
Ooh.
We were so drunk one night doing karaoke, and I'm gonna expose you even worse here, Aaron. He likes to smoke when he drinks sometimes. Not a big deal, everybody. Gosh, don't get on his case about it. Whatever. I will. But anyway, one day I was drunk and confident. I was like, give me one of those. I'll smoke one. Give me, I'll do it. And I threw up everywhere. Like it was an immediate just throw up.
It's bad. If you've never done it before, it's the worst thing ever.
You get the
It was
spins.
nausea. Yeah.
We were outside the bar and I'm like, hey, Chris, you want a cigarette?
You want a cigarette?
No, you should never offer unless they ask. You should never offer it. No.
Polite things to do.
You want a chocolate and a cigarette? So back to the question though.
Yes.
Sue, how was it with you and Maleficent?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like for me, there were a lot of like things you can't do, which is like obviously violence, sexual material, right? You can't, no blood, actually. You can't see her getting like hurt physically. It was like a little more different than the movie because, you see the dragon getting stabbed, right? But we couldn't do any of them. But other than, and the biggest issue was that forget the movies exist. It can't be like, you can't mention the movies or the animated movie at all. So like, there was not really what I can do because all the backstory was in the movie. She doesn't have anything else other than that, but they were like, don't do that. They just so I had to pretend like she already was a thing, So I think for me, because of that, that like limit, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do story, like an adventure story, right? Which is easier than I feel like Cruella, because you actually have an actual story based on a whole thing. She's just having adventures. So that was the easiest part. It just like figuring out what that would be. But once I got to it, it was fairly, I feel like mine was a little bit easier than Cruella was.
I will say
I feel the opposite, but
well, no, go ahead, Sweeney. I had a question there, but go ahead. I'm curious. Why do you think it was different for you?
I just I like a box where I can break the walls a little bit. Where I feel like if I'm given too much of a wide range of like, yeah, you can do whatever, I'm like, I don't know what to do. It's too many options.
That's hard. Yeah.
So kudos to you.
Well, so I really loved what you did with Maleficent because it was almost like. It almost harkened back to like some EC comics where it was just like, who's going to challenge Maleficent this issue and see how she beats them in a very like nonchalant, lazy, like she was just like, you know what? Was it like Rayland or Ryland with the boy who steals her staff?
Oh, Raynaud. Yeah.
Raynaud. Thank you. Yeah. And she's just like, bro, come on. I tried to help you out. I gave you the compass. Yeah. Now you're going to be a fox. Sorry about you. Like,
yeah. I mean, she should be evil. Like she shouldn't have any redeeming qualities. And I'm like, I could do that.
I could do that.
Yeah.
Fun.
Well, Sue, you said that they kind of said that the movies don't exist. Did they specifically mention like all of the movies, or were they saying like just the animated, or are we talking about also the ones with Angelina Jolie?
They said pretend that, like, especially the Angelina Jolie one, just don't even touch it. Don't even watch. I didn't even watch it because I was like, I don't want to be influenced at all. I couldn't call her a fairy because she was a fairy in that one, and I forgot. So I had to like rework and just kind of omit what she is. We don't actually know who she is still. She's not a witch. She's not a wizard. She's just like a evil thing.
Yeah. Well, Sweeney, is that why the Dalmatians don't show up in your story? Is because they basically they want you to pretend like the movie doesn't exist?
No, it does take place after the movie, but it's not the 101 Dalmatians kind of. It's like, it's more of like her. They get mentioned because it's like, it's the afterwards of like, because at the end of the first movie, she's like stranded on the road with Horace and Jasper, and she's just screaming at them, and that's it. And we don't know what happened. So I just got to like pick up from there, basically.
Well, let's talk more about iconic characters. Sue, over the summer, you started your run on Chitara with artist Domenico Carbone. It was announced at San Diego Comic-Con that you'll be headlining a Minor Threats spinoff series as well with a good friend of the show, Brian Michael Bendis. And you announced that you'll be writing and illustrating a Wizard of Oz miniseries.
Yeah.
Outside of the obvious, how are you going to possibly juggle all of this question? What can you tell us about these upcoming titles?
Well, I have no choice. It's like do or die, And if I have that, do it,
Are you excited?
I have no choice. No.
Are you excited to write all day and every day for the rest of the year?
Well, a lot of writing is done already. I'm actually done with Chitara and Wizard of Oz. So it's just the harder part is drawing it. I mean, they're hard on different levels. Like Chitara is hard because I had to write for someone else, right? And I have done that once. I think it was actually for Maria for like a one-shot fairy tale for Vampirella, but that was like my ultimate training wheels, right? And it was very giddy. And so Chitara was like, okay, I have to really, really like tighten it up. I want to be a real writer. And, I did my best on it. So that was hard. But then once I got to do it, I was like, oh, I could totally do this. For anyone else, I feel I could, figure it out.
Well, Chris and I also kind of consider ourselves to be like super serious journalists here with the Oblivion Bar. We're at the really, we're at the upper crust of serious journalism. So we have an important question that we need to ask. And that is who's a better kisser, Tigra or Snarf?
Snarf is a baby. How could you?
Is he? I don't know. I have no idea.
He's like, I actually don't know how old. I think Snarf might be older than all of them.
Yeah.
In the cartoon, he was.
Oh, right. Yeah. But I don't know. Snarf is like a baby puppy to me, So in that case, baby puppies give great kisses, and then, right. Yeah. Like, but obviously
that's a dog owner right there.
We just, we had to get you with the gotcha journalism,
Yeah.
Well, as a card-holding member of the Sweeney Boo fan club, I feel it's important that we should reassure the listener here. You will not just be creating these Blythe dolls forever. You're going to eventually get back to, writing and drawing comics as well, right? So my question for you is, do you have anything that you can...
If you think I'm intense, I don't have a hobby. She does. She has an actual life.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just decide to paint my apartment for some freaking reason because I think I have the time. So, yeah.
Is that a new paint job behind you?
No, but like, for example, sometimes she texts me, she's like, what are you up to? I'm like, I'm painting my stairs. And she's like, why?
Yeah.
Well, I love how this is actual like a true friendship right here.
Yeah, Busu crew.
I love it. The Busu crew.
Yeah.
It's not a facade, everybody. It's true friendship right here.
Yeah.
No, it's real. It's very real.
Well, so outside of the Blythe dolls, Sweeney, is it what else do you have going on? Is there anything you can share with us that's upcoming for you now that Harley Quinn is officially ended? You obviously have a bunch of covers that you've been promoting on your Substack and on social media, but what else you got?
Well, I'm working on the second volume for River My Dead Body, which is going to come out next year.
It looks amazing.
Thank you.
Incredible.
I'm hating myself for having way more characters. So it's a lot. But I'm working on that right now. And Kemi Garcia and I have a graphic novel that we are going to start working on next year, which is about vampires in high school. And It's really fun. And I have something else that I'm working on that is still a secret, but that I'm also going to write and draw. So, yeah.
You know, I know someone who's actually drawing a vampire story that I can get you out to. Like, if you want to talk to him about your upcoming vampire story, if you need it.
Oh, I thought I was waiting for the name drop, and I was
I was like, wait. I was like, this is Sue that you're talking about, but you seem so serious about it.
No, I was waiting. I was like, okay, who are we?
Sue's like, who? I want to know too.
The dry humor doesn't come across as well via, virtual video cast, apparently.
This guy
right here.
Guy.
Nailed it. Another nailed it. Oh, well, I'll tell you, I'm very excited for Over Your Dead Body. Number 2, is that the official? Or do we have like a subtitle?
Official. We're still working on it because I'm not sure if I want to go, but it's TBD for now.
Over 2 bodies.
Over
2 dead bodies. All right. Well, like I said, I'm always excited, and anytime that I have 2, I think I have 2 creators. Anytime at my local comic book shop when there's a new cover out, they know, put it in Chris's pool. And that's Sweeney and that's Christian Ward. So anytime that you guys put covers out, I've got like a treasure trove of just Sweeney covers over here in my I like one short box because I don't really collect a ton of single issues anymore. I'm a dirty trade waiter now, but if I get a cover, usually it's Ward or Boo. And I got to get my Lee's. I got to get my Lee section all ready to go.
It's okay. I'm not offended. No, I don't have as nearly amount of covers as she does. So don't worry. Although I will still be offended if you don't buy them. That's true.
I'm just a filthy window shopper. I see all this beautiful art that, you guys are creating these beautiful stories, and I'll buy all the comics that I can. But Chris is the art connoisseur, and he's got like a whole collection. I visit his house so I can see all the beautiful art.
Hey, that's fair.
Look at you, both of your houses. Like, you guys have crazy collections. What are you talking about?
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, if I can share really quickly before we get into our last question, I had a great sort of experience with both you guys. So this is our first time meeting at San Diego Comic-Con this last summer. We did a Whatnot show. You were actually
wait. It was Chicago, C2E2.
I'm so sorry. You're right. Yes, we did meet for the first time in Chicago.
How dare you?
It was like brief. It was a quick moment.
Shade already.
It was like a hi bye. It was like a hi, nice to meet you. See you later.
I wish everybody listening could be a fly on this wall.
God, you're making me feel bad, Sue. Jesus. Well, we got to actually talk during San Diego Comic-Con, and then obviously Sweeney, we had a Whatnot show at San Diego as well. I think they were both really fun. Sue, this was your very first Whatnot show, correct? This last time at San Diego? Be honest. Was it great? 1 out of 10. What would you give it on a scale? 10 being the best, 1 being terrible.
No, actually, it was a lot of fun.
Okay,
it was actually a lot of fun. I could actually do it we used to do live streams together, with the crew and everything. So I think I've gotten used to being on camera, I guess. But it was a lot of fun, and people were super, the chat's always super nice. You were a great host, And actually, when I knew that you were the host, I was like, "Oh, thank God! Okay, at least I know him."
Well, the contrary to that is that Sweeney, and again, I said this earlier. This is not me trying to put myself in your life or anything, but I think we're friends, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and for some reason during your show at San Diego, I just was bumbling over my words. I was sweating.
Chris does not get. He does not get nervous.
I don't know what it was. I think I just hit my social limit that day. My battery had to officially drain, but I could not say the right things. It was terrible. So I apologize for that.
Oh my God, you're fine. It didn't come through at all, and I'm pretty sure ours was day 3 in the afternoon. You had already been oh my God. Starting an hour after the beginning of San Diego Comic-Con, if you tell me you're tired, I'm like, I understand. It's all good.
We were doing Aaron, I think what I tell you, we did 6 to 7 shows a day.
Chris was sending me again, we're so distracted here, but I love the conversation. No, Chris was sending me his updates of his daily schedule, and it was insane. Probably 4 to 5 shows a day, and then prep
you have
time.
To be on.
Yeah,
always got to be on.
Yeah,
hey, Sweeney is a big deal, so you should be nervous. This is
the one time.
What are you talking about?
The one time that Chris could not make a convention. I had to step in and do the Whatnot shows because Chris was going through his first round of chemo. And so I went to the convention. I was like, Chris, you son of a bitch. You're not here at this convention. I understand. But they were like, Aaron, you got to do the Whatnot shows. And I'm like, fine. And that was the most intimidating weekend I've ever had with working with creators. But the greatest thing was that I had Chris. He was my man on the computer. He was my man at the desk.
Oracle.
And he was like feeding me all the information that I needed for all the artists that I was doing the Whatnot shows with. Yeah. And so I sounded so good.
You're just like, because you knew what you're talking about.
Yeah. He made me sound smart. So.
Is it because every text was followed with like, don't fuck it up?
Yeah, pretty much. He's like,
don't you dare ruin my name.
He's like, don't embarrass me. He's like, do not embarrass me. Every before every show is, do not embarrass me.
Or like,
with a
you
couple
guys
of
ever
hearts.
watch Devil Wears Prada when Anne Hathaway's like characters like whisperings to her ear?
Yeah,
like that. Right?
Absolutely.
Remember, this is Sweeney. Oh, okay. Hello.
No, I'm excited to meet you, Stu. Sweeney, it's
I'm
always
actually short too, so
we're very short.
Shocker, you're standing
I know
right
we
now.
look alike as well, but right? Like we're both very short. We look alike,
I mean, you both wear your "My Job Is Just Bitch" hats, and we can barely.
No, that's just me.
Apart,
that's mine. Yeah.
Oh, I thought Sweeney might have one too. I think there's one on the wall behind you.
Yeah, my one is I'm just a little guy.
Oh, okay.
See,
little guy.
It's my hat.
Yeah.
Sweeney, I feel like I have to call you out just a little bit here because it's too funny to not bring up on the show. But I think it might have been New York Comic Con last year. So we're almost a full year past this memory. But at one point I was walking around losing my mind and I look over and it's you and I see you looking up at somebody and it's Teenie Howard. And to see you two talk to each other is like one of the craziest things. Because Teenie's probably 6 foot.
Yeah, probably.
Oh my gosh.
Probably, right? And I'm 6 foot.
Teenie's so not tiny.
Yeah, no, Teenie's not tiny. And Sweeney's
but Sweeney's
like,
teeny. And she's worked with Deanie.
Yes, exactly. It's every time one time I was at a con and I was hanging out with someone who's like he was 7 feet tall, basically. Mm. And I was like, in my head, I was like, I want to enjoy this conversation right now, but I know that everyone's looking at us. Like, there's no way. There's no way this is not happening.
The size difference here.
My wife is watching this like current season of Dancing with the Stars, and there's like this 7 foot plus basketball star dancing with one of these like famous dancers, and that's the way it is. Like he literally picks her up and just like carries her around like one of your Blythe dolls on the dance floor.
Oh my god!
I'm just waiting for that one time they're spinning and she just flies off through the roof out of Disney Studios. But let's get back on track. If we may. This is amazing. Before we let you both go, though, we always like to end the conversation by asking our guests what they've been enjoying recently. And this can really be any medium, movies, comics, video games. Like, what are you guys doing? What's your hobby? What's your go-to? What helps you escape the daily grind? What do you got?
Well, we both really enjoyed the Interview with the Vampire TV show.
Yeah.
That's like the number one thing that we like. We talk about it when we're watching it. I got a shirt that she picked out, and I'm currently in the midst of making another Interview with the Vampire shirt, like a custom made shirt. So we share that passion. I have no hobbies. I have no life. She's the one with all the fun ones.
No. We've been like we definitely shared about watching Interview with the Vampire, and I got back into reading a little bit, or at least shaming myself into it. And I was starting I was reading Swamp Thing, like Alan Moore's.
I've kind of been doing the same thing as Sweeney. I've been like shaming myself back into like reading actual books, and I've been on this weird I don't know what they call them, but like these spicy novels, like the
Harlequin novels,
like the Court of Thorns and Rose or whatever they are.
Apparently, it is steamy.
Oh yeah. Like it's kind of odd as a guy to be like reading from like the female's perspective of like these hot, intimate, steamy moments, but at the same time, I'm enjoying it. You know. I'm on book 3 already, baby. It's good.
Oh wow!
I would love to say that I'm surprised that Aaron's into smut, but I am so not surprised.
No. Yeah, it's not surprising. I wear all of my kinks on my sleeve, so. Yeah.
Well, Sweeney, it's nice to hear that you're reading Saga Swamp Thing. I feel like that's something that I go back to at least every 2 years, and I feel like I read or see something new that I really love. It's one of those iconic storylines that I feel like every comic fan, if I ever, approach someone and they ask me for sort of a character defining storyline, how can you go any further than Saga of Swamp Thing? I think it's just, I don't know if any creator going forward, maybe for the rest of time, when they get on a Swamp Thing book, it's going to be in some way compared to Saga of Swamp Thing. It's that character defining, you know?
Yeah.
Also, I feel like it's always, I had never read it before. There's a bunch of like those classics that, you know, you hear about, you've seen, you've read pages here and there, but like actually getting to spend time with the book and just like singing it was made like 40 years ago. It's like, it's pretty bonkers.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what a pleasure it has been to have both of you here on the show together, the Subu crew all together. And I'll speak for Aaron here.
It's
and
the
I'll
Busu crew.
Busu crew.
Right.
What did I say? Did I say Sue?
You can switch it around.
Oh yeah, I tried to put Sue before Boo. You know what? We're just gonna make both, and then Aaron and I will wear each of them. That way, people know. But you know, I'll speak for Aaron here. I'll speak for the listener. You know, everyone listening right now. When I say such huge fans of both yours, not only as comic creators, but just as individuals. Like I said throughout this conversation, it's always a pleasure to hang out with you both at these cons and to get to see you and to always hear about the new work that's, you know, coming down the pipeline for both of you. So, you know, as soon as we get these Busu crew, Nike crew necks in production,
let's do it.
We'll put a link in the show notes for everybody. You have to get one of each color.
Yep.
And, you know, before we head out of here, guys, is there anything you guys want to highlight or plug? How can the people follow you? You know, Sweeney, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I'm everywhere on social media at Sweeney Brew, Instagram, Twitter, and whatnot. Not whatnot, just the whatnot in general.
Not whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, just going back to con, it's going to be in New York. I'm going to be at Lucca in Italy at the end of October. And Thought Bubble and Sue and I are going to be in Japan for Tokyo Comic Con in December.
So jealous.
Lucky.
Yeah.
Lucky. Oh, man, that sounds awesome. Sue, how about you?
Twitter is Sue D. Lee, and my Instagram is Sue Lee Draws, SueLeeDraws.com. I'm just trying to think if there's anything I'm allowed to promote that I'm not allowed to, or am I allowed to say out loud? I guess not. Except for Wizard of Oz and the Minor Threats little mini that I'm doing with Brian, which I'm currently working on. So I'm very, very excited for that. Like, I'm a big Brian, and it's just kind of like a dream come true. And then I'll be working on more Christopher Chaos, Adam Frankenstein stuff. Hasn't been like officially announced, but literally they said it, and I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna. They said it's if I talk about it, so I'll be doing more Adam Frankenstein stuff. With
Just so nonchalant.
Well.
No, like
you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
CBR, we know you're listening. You just got a drop right there.
Yeah, right.
I'm super excited for the Wizard of Oz series. I've always been a fan of that like franchise and that fandom, so I'm excited to see what you come up with on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's kind of just a retelling, like of the movie, right? I'm actually using stuff that didn't get made into the movie that I had like the script for, and then you know, can't do anything with the book and stuff like that. But I rewatched the movie, and you should watch it if you haven't watched it, or if you haven't watched it in a minute. It's actually really good. And maybe I'm getting old, and I had a lot of like life things happen to me, and it's just like I've become like a mom now, where like I just cry in a drop of a hat. And it actually, like, the friendship scenes are so beautiful that like when they started crying, I started crying. It's actually so lovely. And like the metaphor of like everything that they're going through is just like unfiltered friendship and love and acceptance. And it's just like, this was made in 1940, like in the 1940s, you know what I mean? And it's just like, if you haven't watched it, you should. It's actually really good.
Yeah. First color movie too.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have the 4K, and I recently rewatched it, and it is incredible. If you ever just want like a great at home viewing experience of that movie,
it's so
highly
like
recommend the 4K.
An innocent like viewing experience. I recently rewatched it as well because I went and I finally got to see Wicked in theater, or I'm not in theater, but on Broadway. I got to see The Wiz with Wayne Brady as the wizard, and that was amazing. And then what was the other one? Have you ever I'm sure you've seen it. Return to Oz?
No, I have not.
Apparently it's insane.
Have you?
Scary?
highly recommend that. That is one of the most terrifying movies that that you will see as an adult or as a child. That movie traumatized me. There's the Troll King, who is basically like living rocks. There's the Wheelers, which are like the new version of the flying monkeys, and they are at like you hear them coming because they go.
Yeah. I mean, they do that in the original too. I gotta say, when I was watching when I was a kid, I remember that scene with the shoe and then like the socks curling up. I remember how scary that was for some reason. Yes. I mean, watching it, I'm like, oh, that's cool. The effects are amazing for that time. But I remember just being so creeped out by that. It's just so good. What a great movie if you haven't seen it, honestly.
Absolutely.
Man, if you were scared by that, I need to send you. There's this like French movie of like Little Femme, and it was made I think in like the 70s, and it scared me so hard as a kid. The ogre and everything. It's creepy. You have to watch it. Okay, it's amazing.
Done.
The Busu crew is going to be a movie fan group, and we're just going to watch scary movies that terrify us.
Yeah. We didn't mention during the conversation before we get out of here. Spill Your Guts. I'm so sad that that's not around anymore, but it makes sense. You guys are so busy right now. Mm-hmm. It's hard to do that. As podcasts, we can tell you how much work we don't just hop on. As silly and organic as this seems, it's not as organic as you think, everybody. Yeah. You really have to prep and the editing and the promoting and all the things. So anytime the Subu crew wants to get on here,
absolutely, please.
I would love
talk
to.
about all the things.
Come spill your guts. Come spill your guts here.
I mean, it's, if whenever we're like, we have time and the space for it, we absolutely would, go back onto Spill Your Guts. It's just like right now, it's just like a hiatus for now,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, we just left our hiatus. We were on a hiatus.
Well,
for
there you go.
Months. So
our
first hiatus ever, Aaron, I think we're better than ever. So
you need that sometimes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Brian K. Vaughan said it the best.
Yeah. Yeah. Right, you got to step away. That's right. Well, thank you both so much again. We appreciate it. We will talk to you the next time you're on.
Thank you.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Alrighty, there's that conversation with Sweeney and Sue. Again, thank you both so much for being on the show. Always a pleasure talking to them. Again, this is Sweeney's second time on the show. This was Sue's first time on the show. So we'll definitely have them back on at some point when they are available. Aaron, what were your thoughts on that conversation? Did you have a good time talking to the Busu crew?
Oh my God, I loved it. It was so much fun. I felt... I don't know. Like, it was one of those conversations where it's so like natural and fun with these two, like, again, like you said at the beginning, rising star creators. And I don't know if it's, what is that called when you like imposter syndrome? I don't know if it's like, do you ever like, it's going so well. You're like, I gotta be fucking something.
Something's wrong. Something's wrong here.
Like, why is this going so well? Like I
on every first date, for all my entire life.
But no, they're sweet people, and they're like easy to talk to. They love what they do. They love what they create. They're excited about what they're doing. And they're just passionate creators. And both Sue and, like I said, that's my first time really talking with Sue ever. Sweeney I've spoken to a couple of times, and they're just nice people, and you love talking to nice people.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're very excited too for what they have coming down the pipeline. A lot of cool stuff that they're going to be working on here soon. And hopefully everybody enjoyed that conversation. Once again, this is Interview-A-Thon, Aaron. So we've got more episodes coming down the pipeline. We've got Jeff Lemire on the show tomorrow. So Jeff Lemire, need we say more, right? Like that is
Jeff Lemire, man.
It's Jeff Lemire, man. Come on. Like, you're going to listen and it's going to be awesome. Hopefully everyone enjoys that conversation. But that'll do it from us here on the Oblivion Bar podcast. Episode 167 is in the books. Aaron, please take us out of here.
All right. Subscribe to our podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Audible, iHeartRadio. iHeartRadio.
I'm not cutting it out.
Why don't you pre-record this? Wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, that's where we are. Okay, here we go. Thank you to our patrons: Alex, Alice, Aaron, Botter, Brad, Chris S, Chris Y, Christy, Danny, David, Elliot, George, Gianni, Greg, Haley, Ham6, Jake H, Jeremy, Kenny, Kyle, Lucy, Mac, Miles, Mike, Olivia, Robert, Travis, Zach, and Brad and Lisa. If you want to support the show without spending any money, a follow on your preferred podcasting platform, and a 5-star rating and or review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify helps the show a ton.
It does.
Please do it. Please. Follow us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Threads at Oblivion Bar Pod. Brand new official merch for the show is on our website, www.oblivionbarpodcast.com. Thank you, KXD Studios, for all of our Oblivion Bar art. He's at KXD Graphics on Instagram. Thank you, Dream Kid, for all of our musical themes. Thank you, DJ Skyvac, for our grid theme. And last but not least, do not forget to tip your damn bartenders 20% or more. Anybody in the service, 20% or more.
20% is the bare minimum, folks. Alrighty, thank you so much. Hopefully you're praying for Aaron and I. We're currently at New York Comic Con. We need all the prayers that you can. Give us all the good energy. Give us a spirit bomb.
Yeah, give us a spirit bomb energy. Lend me your energy. Sanzubin.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. We will see you for day 3 of New York Comic Con and Interview-A-thon and
Guest Fest.
All right, see you, everybody.